And the Twitter board now will have to justify how whatever they come up with is better than this. Because then if they don't, and they're still exercising this broad fiduciary obligations, one thing I'll tell you as a public company director, it is a horrendous process when you get sued, and these guys will be in court for years. And the incremental pressure that this Twitter board has is that they can be held personally liable here.
It is no longer news that Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, has offered to buy 100% of Twitter shares in order to enable free speech on the platform. The Tesla CEO, who has a 9.2% stake in Twitter, offered to buy the social media platform for $54.20 a share on Thursday. Here is what Musk wrote in a letter to Twitter chairman Brett Taylor, as disclosed in a new SEC filing. I invested in Twitter as I believe in its potential to be the platform for free speech around the globe, and I believe free speech is a societal imperative for a functioning democracy. However, since making my investment, I now realize the company will neither thrive nor serve this societal imperative in its current form. Twitter needs to be transformed as a private company. As a result, I am offering to buy 100% of Twitter for $54.20 per share in cash, a 54% premium over the day before I began investing in Twitter, and a 38% premium over the day before my investment was publicly announced. My offer is my best and final offer, and if it is not accepted, I would need to reconsider my position as a shareholder. Twitter has extraordinary potential. I will unlock it. In response, the Twitter board adopted a measure known as the poison pill that would shield it from hostile acquisition bids, taking steps to thwart billionaire Elon Musk's unwelcome offer to take the company private and make it a bastion of free speech. The board set up a shareholder rights plan exercisable if a party acquires 15% of the stock without prior approval, lasting for 1 year only. The plan seeks to ensure that anyone taking control of Twitter through open market accumulation pays all shareholders an appropriate control premium, according to a statement Friday. Under Twitter's plan, each right will entitle its holder to purchase, at the then current exercise price, additional shares of common stock having a then current market value of twice the exercise price of the right. Included in Musk's securities filing disclosing the bid on Thursday morning was a script of text he sent to the company. In it, he said, "It's a high price and your shareholders will love it." In the latest episodes of the All-In podcast, Chamath Palihapitiya, a Sri Lankan-born Canadian and American venture capitalist, explained what a poison pill is and why he believes the Twitter board will be making a huge mistake if they refuse to accept Elon Musk's offer. Before we listen to him, please click the like button and consider subscribing if you are yet to do so.
A poison pill is basically a defensive maneuver that a board of directors uses to prevent a hostile takeover. And basically, the simple way it works is it allows the board to create enormous amounts of new shares and effectively dilute the potential hostile acquirer so that it becomes economically unfeasible for them to get enough shares to get control. The way that they do that is that they basically give everybody except a person that crosses a certain ownership threshold. So let's use Twitter as an example. So the Twitter's poison pill basically says that if you get to 15%, you're essentially locked out from a right that then everybody else has that effectively allows them to buy another share of stock at, I think it's a 50% discount. And so what it does is it creates an incentive to essentially almost double the fully diluted shares outstanding of the business. And what that does is it makes it almost impossible for the person with 15% to then go and acquire what's necessary to get to 50%.
Yeah.
There are different kinds of poison pills. There's things that you can do with debt. There's things that you can do with equity. But that's the thing that Twitter did. I think if anybody's interested in it, Nick, maybe you can just bring it up, but you can Google on Wikipedia. There's a phenomenal article called Revlon versus McAndrew and Forbes. And McAndrew and Forbes was the holding company of this very prolific deal maker in the 70s, 80s, and 90s named Ronald Perelman. And what happened was he was the CEO of a company called Pantry Pride. And Pantry Pride made an unsolicited hostile takeover bid for Revlon, which made makeup. And basically, there was like $40 to $45 a share. The board instituted all these poison pills. The price kept escalating. Then a private equity firm stepped in, also tried to compete for the asset. All along the way, there was enough shenanigans that essentially what Ronald Perelman did was sue Revlon, which went to Delaware court. And from it basically came the current framework of law that we use in this situation. And basically what it means is that board directors have these fiduciary obligations to their shareholders. And in some cases, these are very broad fiduciary obligations, meaning do the right thing. But in some really narrow circumstances, all of that collapses and their sole focus is to get the best price. And what a director and a board of directors typically wants to do in a situation like this is not end up in that second bucket. They want to keep all their options available. They don't necessarily want to sell to one person. They're probably going to assume they're going to get fired from the board. They want to stay on for different reasons, et cetera, et cetera. And so right now, what Twitter and their advisors are trying to do is basically stay in that first bucket, have all of the options available to them and not be forced to run an auction. And I think what Elon will try to do is essentially use the public pressure that's going to build and the existing shareholders who own stock at 40 some odd dollars, a chance to basically get, a 20% payday by selling it to Elon for $54 or 53, whatever the price was. And the Twitter board now will have to justify how whatever they come up with is better than this. Because then if they don't, and they're still exercising this broad fiduciary obligations, one thing I'll tell you as a public company director, it is a horrendous process when you get sued, and these guys will be in court for years. And the incremental pressure that this Twitter board has is that they can be held personally liable here. So I think it's getting very complicated very quickly.
Okay, on that note of personal liability, you have director's insurance. So how can that pierce through?
Doesn't cover it.
Have there been examples of this happening?
Yeah, D&O insurance is kind of like, D&O insurance is their director and officer insurance is a layer of protection that we all have as public company directors. We actually also have it as private company directors.
Sure, yeah.
But the amount of coverage changes. But what I'll tell you is D&O coverage tends to be relatively nominal because the risk profile doesn't really include these kinds of tail events. And now what you're talking about is $10 to $15 billion of equity value that's going to either get created for existing shareholders or get taken away.
Twitter's stock could see a violent sell-off if it says no to Elon Musk's buyout offer, according to an analyst. And such a sell-off may open the door to a more strategic partner than the controversial CEO of Tesla. If Twitter rejects Musk's offer, we see the possibility for another investor to support the stock should it sell off. We believe that if there is a 20% plus sell-off on a rejected bid, Twitter would definitely present value to a strategic investor. In our view, this could be a positive outcome given Twitter would likely prefer a consortium of investors rather than be controlled by a single large owner, said Jefferies tech analyst Brent Hill. However, we believe the Twitter board will be sued into oblivion if they refuse to sell at Elon Musk asking price, which is way beyond the current market price of Twitter shares. There have been several Twitters already who have expressed their desire to sell their shares to Elon Musk, and some have already threatened to sue the board if they refuse to sell.
I think the right thing for Twitter's board to do, just to be very precise, is the following. They have to take Elon's offer and they have to create a go shop. I will go and try to get a better price. They won't be able to. And the reason they won't be able to is not a single person who is capable of stepping up with $43 billion would ever get it through regulatory muster. Not going to happen, in my opinion. And anybody with the $43 billion who could buy it will never take it on, meaning, could Comcast show up? Sure. Could Disney show up? They'll never even look at it.
No, they're not interested.
The people for whom this asset is strategic, Apple, Facebook, Google ByteDance, Amazon can never get it done. So
Lina Khan, no Breno.
I think that's probably right, Chamath, but there is a chance.
So I just want to finish. So
from who?
So hold on, just let me finish.
Okay, I gotta finish Chamath, yeah, and then Sachs who?
So I think basically it's like, Elon, thank you. We're going to create a go shop. We'll try to find the best offer. I don't think any offer comes in. But then I think what they can do, Freeberg, is if there is this magical plan to shoot rainbows out their ass, they should actually put that to a shareholder vote and let people decide. And I think that's a really fair thing to do that also allows them the credibility and the air cover to say, look, we actually have been working on a plan. We think that that will create an amazing amount of shareholder value. And we just want shareholders to be able to see that, compare it to Elon's offer, and decide for themselves.
Either the poison pill will win and Twitter's stock will be down in the dumps 30 days from now. It'll be the same price it was when Elon started accumulating.
$35?
Around that price, it's going to be back in the dumps And to Chamath's point, all these board members are going to be sued, justifiably so, because they did not pursue the best deal of the company. Or there's one other possibility, that they will find a buyer for Twitter, and that the way they will defeat Elon will be to find another buyer at the same or greater price, and they will place Twitter in the hands of another company who they regard as culturally safer because that company buys into the regime of censorship. And it might be Disney, it might even be Google. I'm telling you, I think that if Google were the company to step up, the administration would ultimately support that deal rather than Elon getting the company. And I think they would tell Lyn Alden to stand down in that instance and let it go through.
Okay, Lyn Alden, you have
and we will find out. And I'm telling you, in 30 days, we will find out how rigged this game is and how deep the corruption goes, because they will do anything to stop Elon from acquiring this company, even if it means violating their fiduciary duty or violating antitrust law.
In the next 90 days, I don't think you're going to see a better offer. I don't think anybody wants to buy this dumpster fire, because you have to understand this dumpster fire is twofold, right? On the one hand, you have a whole user usage, bot, spam, harassment problem. And then you have an internal, issue around culture and monetization and all of this other stuff. And so, you have to be really prepared to step in and deal with both of these two issues in a really definitive way. I think that I'm not sure that corporate boards and companies and CEOs have the stomach for all of that. So I don't think there's a better bidder, but I think within 90 days, they're going to probably first try to reject it. I'm not sure that that's in the best fiduciary interest of shareholders. In fact, I don't think it is. And I think to reject it would be more a sign of ego than a sign of logic. And then I think they are going to get sued and they're going to be embroiled in lawsuits for years.
Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban chimed in on Elon Musk's attempt to purchase Twitter for $43 billion, saying that he thinks the Tesla CEO is fucking with the SEC and that Twitter will do everything in their power not to sell. Elon Musk's bid for Twitter probably has Facebook and Google quaking, according to Mark Cuban. Elon Musk's big bid to buy all of Twitter has probably awakened numerous executives inside of Google and Meta, he said. Every major tech company, Google, Facebook, and others are on the phone with their antitrust lawyers asking if they can buy Twitter and get it approved. And Twitter is on the phone with their lawyers asking which can be their white knight. Gonna be interesting, Cuban said in a new tweet on Thursday. Mark Cuban told Yahoo Finance via email that he would not comment beyond his tweet. As lovers of freedom of speech, the Savvy Finance team welcomes the idea by Elon Musk to acquire the platform, and we sure hope he is successful in doing so. Do you support the idea of Elon Musk buying Twitter 100%? Please let us know your opinion in the comments. Thanks for watching.